A Whisper in the Dark. Chronicles of the Cursed Lodger. Surely you have ever seen something strange, exactly what imagined. Think. Things hanging on a chair in the dark that look like a twisted monster, an ominous dark corridor that looks like someone is watching you from there, or an empty dark street whose inky silhouettes will stare intently while you smoke on the balcony. I've never been paranoid or anything. However, something happened in my life that I became afraid of any random rustle. I'm writing this note because I don't know what to do next, and I feel like I'm losing my mind. My name is... I'm just a regular hard worker who recently graduated from university. I work as an importer in a warehouse. You can probably guess what kind of marketplace it is, but that's not the point. Already at the age of 16, I moved out of my parents' house to the city, went to university, barely graduated, and now I work in a warehouse until I find something better. I lived, by the way, in a very strange house, not like everyone else's. An interesting new building, only 5 floors, but there was no entrance. If you lived on a high floor, as I did, and I lived on the 4th floor, you had to climb an open, rattling iron staircase. Each apartment had a password panel next to the door, and in case you forgot, they gave you a key card. I put it through the connector, and the door is open. The apartments themselves were quite spacious. As I entered, there was a kitchen on the left, a room on the right, and a bathroom with toilet in front. The student doesn't need more than that. That's how I lived. As soon as I graduated, I started looking for a job in my specialty. But in the meantime, I worked as a farmhand in a warehouse. Everything was as usual for the time being. Footsteps in the kitchen again. I won't drag it out any further. I think you understand how I roughly live. It all started in the dead of night. I was sitting at my computer, the moonlight warm through the window, mixed with the cold glare of a lamppost. There was nothing left in the fridge that night, so I ordered a pizza. The time was around 3:30 in the morning. I don't remember exactly, but that night, through the thick sound of my headphones, I heard a soft, careful knock on the door. I thought the delivery guy was here, so I went to the door. Immediately, I wanted to unlock the lock and take away the long-awaited night feast, but I was a little taken aback at the moment. My body suddenly seemed to have goosebumps. I said it loud enough for the person on the other side of the door to hear. "Who's there?" Silence. The pounding stopped. No running footsteps, no children's laughter, and most importantly, no friendly response from the delivery guy. And what kind of children? Did you see the time in the yard? However, I couldn't think of any other explanation. Who would just knock on my door at night? I also felt such a strange feeling all over my body. For some reason, I didn't want to open it abruptly to the one who was standing on the other side. By the way, there were no peepholes on the doors, not at all. Yes, the door had a password, but there were no cameras and a banal peephole. But the door was very strong. A thief would not have been able to open it with a grinder. Okay, again, I digress from the main topic. As a result, I didn't open the door then. I went to the delivery app and saw that the pizza was still being delivered. Maybe someone got the wrong door? But why didn't anyone answer me? Maybe he was too shy to answer when he realized that he knocked in the wrong place? I didn't know, and I didn't want to think about it. I sat down at my computer again and started playing my favorite online game. About 20 minutes later, I heard the doorbell ring. Exactly what is already a call. It was an important game and you can't pause it. In my haste, I took off my headphones, got up from my chair, and ran to the door. I wanted to finish up with the delivery guy and get back in the game. However, I was extremely surprised when I opened the door and saw no one. Literally, there was no one. No delivery guy, no retreating footsteps of someone who wanted to make fun of me. Absolutely no one. When the bell rang, I was at the door in 3 seconds. No one would have been able to make it down the iron, thundering stairs, not only unnoticed, but also fast enough to escape. It was the first bell at the time, but I didn't think much of it. Then I couldn't even imagine that at that moment, I led inside my apartment. After that, my life became a living hell. I can't remember all the cases, but I'll try to explain them. Strange things began to happen in my apartment. Objects began to change their location. Every day when I came home from work, I found them in the most ridiculous and frightening places. A flash drive in the refrigerator, soap in the microwave. The clothes began to disappear, and then reappear a few days later, neatly folded in the closet, as if they had always been there. Once I came home at all and saw a perfectly arranged column of 10 ruble coins on my bedside table. I definitely didn't collect them. It really scared me. I thought that someone had gained access to my apartment, so I turned to specialists and asked them to change the password. The old one, by the way, was 1111. You can laugh, but it seemed practical to me. Who would guess to enter such a password? Now I've changed it. I thought I had a strange thief, but it was more serious than that. Changing the password didn't help at all. The house became quite uncomfortable. Sometimes at night, I would wake up to footsteps in my kitchen. The first time I was not so much afraid. I lay there for about 3 minutes unable to move. There were no doors inside the apartment except for the bathroom, so I was only separated from the muffled footsteps by the arch of my bedroom, a small hallway, and the arch of the kitchen. I couldn't even think of calling the police. While I did, who knew what would happen to me? Summoning all my willpower, I picked up the toy katana that hung on my room wall and ran like a madman to the kitchen, turning on the lights in the hallway and then in the kitchen as I went. There was no one there. The kitchen was empty, everything was in its proper place, and there was no sign that anyone had been there. However, I could clearly hear someone's footsteps. I'm not crazy, I'm not sick. If you think that this is a diagnosis, then do not rush to conclusions. Read on. The night steps were repeated several times. Every time, thinking that I was used to it, I went to check with horror every time, but there was never anyone there. Then I thought I was going crazy with loneliness. I am 20 years old. My home is 3,000 kilometers away. I have no friends. I am not sociable and closed. The years of loneliness really affected my psyche, but not in a bad way. I liked this life. I don't really like people, so I like to enjoy peace and quiet. I like the night when you can't hear life outside the window. Many people will think that I am a typical psychopath, but again, I am in my right mind, both then and now as I write all this. After the first incident with steps in the kitchen, as well as after numerous cases of moving objects, I went to the hospital. After telling the story to the doctor, he was mildly surprised by such auditory hallucinations, and as for the objects, he said that I was a sleepwalker and moved them myself. I didn't expect any other logical answer, but I knew in my heart that I was all right. I was prescribed pills. The doctor said that I would sleep better, there would be no auditory hallucinations, and I would also stop sleepwalking. I started taking them every night, but there was no effect. It was unpleasant to be at home. Here are a few more cases. I took a shower once. I caught a terrible face with my eyes closed. I don't know how to explain it, but I think many people have had this experience when you rub your eyes and the brain generates a scary face for a split second, but then the face disappears. So that time when I thought I saw an ominous face in my head, I opened my eyes and I saw in the mirror just for a split second this very face. It wasn't black, as if I had closed my eyes and imagined it, but it was real. Empty black eyes, a twisted mouth, a pale gray dirty face looking straight into my eyes through the mirror. It was reflected on the ceiling, right behind me. Startled, I spun around, crying out in passing. No one was there. I looked at the mirror again, but there was nothing there either. Did you think so? I don't think. It was the same when I came home again. As I entered my room, I shouted at what I saw. As I said, my room was down the hall to the right of the front door. I hung up my coat and went to my room to change. My closet was just opposite the entrance archway to the bedroom, and the window was on the left side of the bed. So then, in my peripheral vision, I saw that face again for a split second. This time just empty dark eyes and what looked like thin fingers on either side. It was as if it had clung to the ledge on the other side of the window and was barely looking out, and as soon as I entered the room, it jumped back down. It all happened in a split second, but I'm sure of what I saw. I ran out of the room and leaned on the front door, sitting there for a few minutes. Then, gathering my courage, I went to the window. When I looked around, I didn't see anyone, no footprints, nothing. The following incident occurred recently. I woke up again in the night, but this time not to footsteps, but to an electronic sound near the front door. I went to see what was going on, and when I heard what was going on, my body turned to stone. Someone is trying to find the password to my apartment. Quick electronic sounds of typing a 4-digit code, then the sound of system failure, and again. Input failure, input failure. What was happening outside the door made my body refuse to move. I don't know how long I stood there at the door, my mind a mess. Things moving and disappearing, footsteps in the kitchen at night, a terrible thing in the bathroom and outside the window. Suddenly I shouted, "Go away! Leave me alone!" The sounds stopped. I heard someone coming down the stairs very quickly. Although what was standing there was clearly running, the footsteps were very soft and muffled, not giving off any vibration at all. After this incident, I didn't just visit the hospital again, I went to bed in it. For 2 weeks of tests, brain, blood, heart, and everything else, the doctor said that I was completely healthy, that I was just too tired at work. They gave me extra pills and sent me home. In the hospital, by the way, there were no hallucinations. I came home yesterday. I swiped my keycard over the sensors and opened the door, feeling a lump rise in my throat. In my absence, someone was definitely inside. There were footprints coming out of the front door toward the bedroom, but they weren't really footprints, just bits of muddy dirt coming into my room. I carefully wandered inside and turned on the light in the room. The room was ordinary. I looked where the dirt led, and it led to the closet. He was standing right in front of the bedroom entrance. There was a yellow sticker on it. I went to the closet and looked closely. On the note, written in a scrawly blue ink script, was the following: "Behind your back." I was petrified, my heart pounding like it was going to burst. After reading the sign, I wanted to disappear, sink into the ground, run away, anything but turn around. Gathering my strength, I began to slowly turn around. I turned and stared down the dark corridor. Nothing. No one was there, nothing happened. I fell to my knees and cried. I was very scared. Paranoia was running high. Few people will understand me now, but just try to understand what it's like to be in your own home, in a place where you are the owner, where you should feel calm and safe, and you feel only fear, anxiety, and eternal fatigue from the thought that someone is near, someone is watching you, playing with you. With you, he's got you right in the palm of his hand. I do not know who or what is doing this to me, but please stop. Things are even worse today. The note on the cabinet, if anything, is still there. But here on the table in the morning, I found another one, on my computer desk. I won't even describe how scared I was, but I did look out of my bedroom window. There was nothing and no one there. It's already 3:56 a.m. As I write this, 3:33, there was a knock on my window. There's another faint shuffle in the kitchen. I don't really know what to do. Tomorrow, I think I'll go to my parents' house in the village. I'll leave this note here. If someone moves in here, know that something inexplicable is happening here. I've become twitchy and I feel crazy. Get out of here if you're reading this. I decided to check out the knocking from the window after all. Something is clearly lurking behind the curtains. I'll go check it out, describe what it was after.